What's up and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're talking about another film recommended to me by my wife to watch, and that is The Divide. A post-apocalyptic and psychological character study thriller that stars people like Michael Biehn, Milo, Ventimiglia, and Lauren German, people you may have heard about, but not quite A-listers, people they undoubtedly cast in something like the next season of Dancing with the Stars. Look at me, I soliloquize too much. Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, soliloquies. To talk to oneself, like what I was forced to do during my high school prom when my date stood me up. The Divide is a post-apocalyptic thriller that focuses on a number of apartment patrons who are forced to huddle together in the apartment's storm cellar for an indeterminate amount of time after they witness a nuclear explosion outside in the distance. They must wait until it's safe to leave after the radiation has passed, but how much solitude can any of these people really handle? The first thing that comes to my mind when I watch this was, it kind of feels like 10 Cloverfield Lane before 10 Cloverfield Lane, but it really isn't. They actually see the bomb go off in this, and the stakes are considerably higher because everybody in this limited space is kind of crazy in their own way, and their collective isolation just kind of raises the bar on their insanity, and things just gradually get more and more nuts as you watch. There are two main standout elements of this film that I think are actually very, very good. First, the acting. Apart from Michael Biehn's inclusion, he's just nuts and he overacts in literally everything. The rest of the cast actually does a pretty great job portraying a good acting range. They go from somewhat sane in the beginning to something a lot more insane as the time progresses. And they all do a pretty good job with that. And the other good thing about this film is the social commentary on the human mind and the mental damage it can go through when isolated. This is definitely a character study. The characters themselves aren't that great, but the things that they go through and how they react to said things, that is pretty good. And the themes containing character study bits and decent acting, that can make or break a film all on its own. For me, I like to focus on technical areas like the narrative and the editing style, both of which I hate in this film. Let me explain. Structurally and narratively, this movie has no idea what it wants to be or where it wants to go. It really just, it's a collection of crazy things that happen, one after the other, and there's never really any hints as to where the writers wanted the story to go. It eventually had to go somewhere, of course, but by the time that happens, it almost feels forced and shoved in there just to have an ending. That's because there's no formal story here, just crazy stuff to further the storylines of our main characters. Another problem with this movie is the editing. These people are underground for a very long time, and the audience is never clued in to how long they're there or when the days are passing. Usually there's a few tricks an editor might pull off in instances like this, like your basic cross-fading transition or sped-up montage scenes, which is utilized to subconsciously tell the audience that an undetermined time has passed. But what happens in this film is days are passing by, weeks, months maybe, heck, even years are possible, and the audience has no idea when a day passes because there's no markers. Characters aren't falling asleep. They aren't physically telling the audience through exposition that days are passing. They aren't even wondering how much time has passed or acting disoriented from being isolated. They're acting like they know exactly how long it's been, but the audience is left out of the loop, and that just aggravates me and made me feel like the editor did a bad job. Let's talk about how I scored this puppy. I think those areas of bad editing really affected the film poorly because the editing is really important in order to get the audience engaged. But because it makes no sense as to how much time has passed, and because the film never really was going anywhere from a narrative standpoint, and because honestly, there's not even a real main character, that unbiased score is low at 56%, but I did have a good time with the film. It has a good sense of tension, of insanity. It has a decent character study on what might happen to somebody if left isolated for too long. That bias score is 70%. When averaged together, we get a final score of 63%, 63 out of 100 possible stars, granting The Divide with a letter grade of D. It has some good ideas, and I like a good post-apocalyptic film, but honestly, I think I'd rather just watch 10 Cloverfield Lane, which has a similar concept, but it's dealt with better. I'd like to hear your thoughts on this film in the comments down below if you've seen it. As far as character study thrillers are concerned, are you a fan of just watching people's minds deteriorate, or do you need something more? Let me know. As for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this review, because there's more like it coming out. Hit the thumbs up button, because that always helps out my channel. And don't forget about the little bell icon, because that'll help notify you when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!